buzzing around in helicopters, negotiating potholed dirt tracks in 4x4 off-road vehicles, crossing raging rivers in rubber dinghies. Everything about these expeditions was huge. Indeed, that's the first thing you notice about Greenland, its immensity. The landmass is about the size of Mexico, but covered by a thick dome of moving glacier ice several kilometres deep in its centre. When I first arrived in Greenland, its soft, ice-moulded hills seemed familiar to me, similar to those of the Cairngorms, yet in the other direction lay the ice sheet, an outrageously flat, gleaming layer of white as far as the eye could see. I realised that this was what Scotland must have looked like 20,000 years ago, when the British ice sheet blanketed much of our mainland. In the local Inuit tongue, this vast area is known as Sermisuak, the Great Ice. The story of how this ice-encrusted island was named green rather than white dates back to the Norsemen who colonised parts of west and southern Greenland. Erik Thorvaldsson, often known as Erik the Red, one of the early Norse settlers, arrived from Iceland with a fleet of longships around AD 985 at an inlet on the southern tip of Greenland called Eiriksfjord, now named Tuniliarfik Fjord. His people are commonly known as Vikings, from the Old Norse Vikingr, meaning to go raiding, although not all Norse were raiders, and this is certainly not how they referred to themselves. Erik's father was a chieftain in Norway, but both men are thought to have fled due to interclan feuding, which also caused the dispersal of many Norse to Iceland, the Faroes, Shetland, Orkney, and the Hebrides during these times. Erik called his new home Greenland, because along its margins lay a seductively lush, vegetated land suitable for farming, and he wanted to create a welcoming image of this far-off land so that settlers might follow him. From the start, I found the scale of Greenland's ice sheet quite daunting. There were so many enormous questions which almost seemed unanswerable. But it was this challenge that drew me in. My arrival there in 2008 followed a series of dry years in research funding, when I'd repeatedly failed to win grants to continue my work in Svalbard. Valley glaciers were no longer considered quite as cutting edge to the Research Council funders. Instead, glaciologists have become obsessed with the vast ice sheets that contain just over 2/3 of the Earth's fresh water. Greenland is of particular importance to the British Isles, connected as we are to this gargantuan lump of ice via the winds that bring Arctic blasts in winter, as well as the deep cold currents originating in the Greenlandic seas that nose their way south down the Atlantic past the Faroes and Shetland. These currents are an essential part of a conveyor belt system of ocean currents called the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, known more catchily as the AMOC. This acts like a heat exchanger, moving warm waters to the chilly north and cold waters to the balmy south. Its northward currents, the Gulf Stream and the North Atlantic Current, are one reason why the British Isles experience such mild weather. If it were not there, the air temperatures would be up to 9 degrees Celsius cooler. Thus, the future of the UK is tied up with the fate of Greenland and its ice sheet.